You should be trading Justin Jefferson in all of your dynasty leagues, and we'll tell you how you're going to do it next.
You are Locked On Dynasty Football, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Welcome back to the Locked On Dynasty Football Podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. We'd like to thank you for making us your first listen of the day. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use promo code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Welcome back. I am your host, Marcus Mosher. Joining me today, as always, is Michael Fabiano. And it's a Wednesday show, so of course, Matt Williamson is here. We're going to talk about the best app to play Dynasty football on. We're going to talk about some mid-season regression candidates. But Fabs, I want to start with you. You've been kind of tossing out the idea that now is the best time to trade away Justin Jefferson in your Dynasty leagues. Can you give us your explanation why this is the right time to do it?
Yeah, redraft too. Call me a scaredy cat. It's fine. But I have no faith in JJ McCarthy. And let's look at the numbers this year. Jefferson's averaging 15.4 points per game. That's his worst average in the NFL. It's his worst total since he was a rookie. He only has one touchdown this year. He had 10 last year. In 2 games with McCarthy, and I get it, small sample size, I get it. 13 targets, 7 catches, 125 yards, and 25.9 points. Not good. Once again, I am going on a small sample size, so I understand that. Anybody who wants to dig back at me. In week 1, McCarthy's passing EPA was negative 12.9, fifth worst among quarterbacks. In week 2, his passing EPA was negative 19.8, third worst among quarterbacks. The Vikings offensive line has allowed 28 sacks. That's tied for the third most in the league. And McCarthy missed his rookie year, missed 5 games this year. If he gets hurt again, Max Brosmer is the quarterback for the Vikings, and you're screwed. Okay? Now, there have been rumors that maybe they want to bring Kirk Cousins back. I'd feel a little bit better. I know, Marcus, you hate him, but I'd feel better if Kirk Cousins were the quarterback. A lot better. So the players that I would deal for JJ, and listen, you're not taking 10 cents on the dollar. You know, Devon Etienne. If I'm going straight up, CeeDee Lamb, Amon-Ra St. Brown. Hell, I may even think of Rashee Rice because I know I'm not getting Puka. I know I'm not getting Bijan. I know I'm not getting Jamar. But Justin Jefferson has nothing to do with his own skills and abilities because he's awesome. But we have finally found, the kink in the armor, and that is bad quarterback play. And historically, and especially in the last 20 to 30 years, guys, I mean, not for nothing, but for every first-round quarterback who's been successful, 3 or 4 have not. And I don't think McCarthy is going to be a good pro. So I'm just concerned about that. It's a long-term thing. If I can get value, like if I can flip him for CeeDee Lamb right now, I'm in. If I can flip him for Etienne right now, I'm in. That concerns me. And in redrafts, I'm really worried that Justin Jefferson is going to hurt you more than he's going to help you the rest of the year.
All right, so Matt, if you were trading away Justin Jefferson, how would you try to do it in your dynasty leagues?
Let me get to that because I want to expand a little bit on what Fab said because I don't know if you guys remember, but Mike, you threw it out there kind of nonchalantly last Wednesday, that maybe Jefferson should be on the move. And obviously it's been on your brain. And frankly, I've given it a lot of thought since then. I'm like, I think Fabs is right. Generally speaking in dynasty leagues, I always want to be the guy that takes 3 of my dudes and turns it into a star, and then takes 2 and turns it into a star. Because I'm always short on roster space, and I want to build a dynasty. As Marcus and I have talked about for years, I want to be a total powerhouse that just takes souls away from people in my league.
We want to build teams that are going to make your league mates want to quit. Like that's our goal right here.
Give up because you have no chance. And by do that, if I can start chasing Jefferson, all these guys, but it might be the time. A couple things, I won't fight you is the wrong word, but I don't have a lot of long-term concerns about the Vikings O-line. It's just been really, really injured. I don't think the sack thing's a real problem. I love the coaching staff. Jefferson does have some history of overcoming below average to poor quarterback play. But I'm with you. I mean, I think McCarthy's going to be bad. I mean, of all those quarterbacks from that class, he screams bust. I don't know the Cousins would even be that soothing to my Jefferson soul. And I wouldn't I wouldn't trade him straight up for an Etienne or a guy like that, but I would certainly take a pick with it. And Marcus, I guess the best way when you're trying to trade a whale, you could take the easy approach and just put trade bait Justin Jefferson and see what flies come around, or go to your message board and say, I'm considering trading Justin Jefferson, maybe if somebody blows my doors off. But the smarter way to do it is to contact owners directly. Go look at the standings. Who are the teams that are in it that are 500 and above? And I bet there's a team out there that has a great tight end, Jonathan Taylor, and okay wide receivers. And you can easily sell that owner. You're a receiver away from winning this thing, dude. Give me the farm, And the other approach some people will take too is just like spam the league. Justin Jefferson for 3 first-round picks and see what flies come around. I wouldn't want to be the one that makes the first offer if I owned it.
No, and it seems like you always end up getting 90 cents on the dollar on those type of trades when you kind of shop them to your entire league. For me, Matt, the way that I would do this is I would target 1 or 2 players that you're really high on that you think is maybe undervalued.
That's a good approach too.
Could eventually not give you Justin Jefferson production, but give you wide receiver 1 production. Like for me, right? I love Tetero McMillan, one of my favorite players. I think he's awesome right now. I would go to the McMillan owner and say, hey, what do you think about Justin Jefferson for McMillan plus X? I think you're going to be happier doing that rather than just getting 2 random first-round picks and a player that maybe you like but don't love.
I like that approach too. I really want, for me, I'm still super into Travis Hunter. It seems like we talk about him every week. Maybe you open the bid with Travis Hunter and 2 firsts. I've been wanting Hunter anyway. Yeah,
right. What about for you, Fabs? Like, how would you, if you're going to trade Jefferson? I know you mentioned some redraft targets. Are there some dynasty targets out there that you would want to try to get in a move back?
Well, no, those are dynasty targets.
Okay.
Etienne, CeeDee Lamb, Amon-Ra, all guys with similar value. Rashee Rice. If I could get Rashee Rice and a pick in return, you and I are both very high on him. I know the limitations. I know that if you're smart, your brain is thinking exactly what mine is. McCarthy, not that good. McCarthy, injury prone. They don't have a backup right now. I mean, it's literally like potentially devastating for the rest of the season. And I am not a McCarthy guy. I had him listed as like a potential sleeper only because of the system. And again, like I know, like people are going to, it's a small, I get it. The Detroit Lions are going to smash him this weekend. Okay. The offensive line is garbage in Minnesota right now because of Matt mentioned, they've got injury issues. And I'm wondering if he's going to start seeing ghosts like Sam Darnold so famously did years ago with the Jets. I have a lot of concerns about McCarthy. There's nothing to do with Justin Jefferson because he's spectacular. And sometimes when I see the body language on the sidelines of Justin Jefferson and the facial he doesn't look happy. And I don't think he's going to look happy the rest of the season with McCarthy throwing on the ball. Listen, I'm worried about Jordan Addison. I'm worried about TJ Hawkinson. I'm worried about everybody on this offense. The backfield now is going to be a disaster in fantasy. This whole offense, which we embraced and loved last year and the year before that when Cousins was the guy, now I'm afraid of it. And it's happened quickly.
Matt, maybe they could trade for Aaron Rodgers and really boost the offense. Real quick, one strategy that I didn't mention is generally in your leagues, there's going to be 1 or 2 managers that I like to call that are big game hunters, right? They like to have the biggest name players on their team. So when you look at the roster, it's Justin Jefferson and Saquon Barkley and Derrick Henry. And this is something Bob Harris has talked about is don't chase last year's best team, right? Try to build the best team to win a championship for this year. Those are the managers that you should be targeting in trades because they're going to think Justin Jefferson is still, hey, the number one wide receiver in fantasy by a good margin. I'm willing to pay whatever it takes to get him on my team.
Yeah, one other thing I want to throw out just with strategy with these guys too is it can be a dangerous game, but we know timing is so important in a week-to-week game like fantasy football. And I want to speak for you, Fabs, but I don't think you're saying Jefferson has to go. I have to get him off my team.
No, of course not.
No, yeah. And I wouldn't look at it that way either. But maybe his next big game or the first good press you get from McCarthy, then you strike,
Yep.
Not today,
Yep. But definitely putting him out there and saying, hey, he's available. What are you guys thinking? And then kind of going from there. What concerns me too, Matt, is that, he has a couple of stinkers with McCarthy, and then all of a sudden the value goes down even more. Because again, I'm just down on this quarterback. So I think it's a double-edged sword here, but it would be nice for him to come out and have a good game. The matchup this week is really good against Detroit. Their defense is bad against perimeter receivers. I mean, not that Justin Jefferson needs a good matchup to put up numbers. So, I mean, when you're looking at it statistically, he should come out and have a good game. Will he? I don't know.
I bet he has a good game in one of the next three. I mean, he always does.
And that's when you try to flip him. Yep.
Yeah.
All right, let's
off-season. Off-season is a different world, too. I mean, everyone gets optimistic in the off-season. Vikes figured out their quarterback situation.
Yeah, Aaron Rodgers gets to Minnesota finally. All right, let's talk about some mid-season regression players like Quentin Johnston. Do you believe what we saw in the first month of the season, or is he regressed back to being Quentin Johnston? We'll talk about that and more next. This episode is brought to you by Mazda. Mazda crafts cars for those who do more than simply move. Mazda delivers confidence with every ride, with more IIHS top safety pick awards than anyone else. From footwork to breathwork, athletes sweat all the details, and Mazda brings that same intention to how they craft every model. You can feel the Japanese craftsmanship in every detail, from metallic accents to available Napa leather upholstery. You can make your everyday drives feel like anything but, with smooth handling to incredible controls. And with all-wheel drive standard in every crossover SUV, you can drive with confidence through almost any season. And like our players, we sweat every detail, because when you make every move count, impossible becomes irrelevant. Mazda, move and be moved. This episode is brought to you by Game Time. The NFL season is back, and honestly, there's nothing better than being in the stadium surrounded by fans cheering on your favorite team. But let's be honest, getting tickets can be a hassle between queues, login screens, and prices jumping at checkout. It's all incredibly frustrating, but that's why I use Game Time, the app that gives the advantage back to the fans. Game Time is fast, easy, and backed by the Game Time guarantee. You'll always get 100% authentic tickets delivered on time and at the best prices. Plus, all fees are included, so the price that you see is the price that you pay. I love that I can get a view from my seat in the app before you buy, so you know exactly what to expect when you arrive at the stadium. And honestly, it's faster, cheaper, and less stressful than any other way that I bought tickets before. So download the Game Time app, create an account, and use promo code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that is promo code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket. Go download Game Time today. Welcome back to the Locked On Dynasty Football Podcast. We'd like to thank you for making us your first listen of the day. Matt, let's talk about mid-season regression candidates, and we can add in names if you want to be hyper-specific, but you know the guys, right? Quentin Johnston, Travis Etienne, Caleb Williams, Bill Krosky-Merritt, like guys that open up the season with strong performances who have regressed. How do you handle those players, not only just in fantasy, but also in Dynasty?
It's a tough question, and because I really think I could just take the easy way out and be like, well, it depends. Every team's different. Every player's different. And there's a lot of merit to that. Now, if we stick with like Quentin Johnston, I think he's a great example, because I think a mistake that fantasy football people, players, guys that don't do this for a living, or even folks like us that do this for a living, can underestimate the brilliance of NFL coaches. I mean, these guys are really, really good at what they do. And where I'm going with this, like with Johnston, I think he's just a good example. Is what do you think that offensive coaching staff did all off season? Let's figure out ways to use Johnston better. He's not going anywhere. We're not going anywhere. And they were smarter about it. They used him more like Deebo Samuel than Randy Moss. You know what I mean? And that was smart. They took him a while to realize his skill set. But in the end, he might just not be that good. And you maximize him through scheme early in the season. And you realize I'd still rather throw the ball to Gadsden and McConkey and Allen. And he's just going to drop because he doesn't give us as good a chance to win, and we maximized what he could do early in the season. I think that happens more than people realize.
What about for you, Fabs? We can talk about Johnson specifically, but what do you do with these guys that start out really hot and now are fading?
Wait. I mean, Johnston, I think it's look at the numbers. It's Gadsden whose emergence has hurt him, right? If you look at Johnston's numbers in his first 4 games, 9 targets a game, 5.5 catches, scored 4 touchdowns, averaged 20 points. Gadsden didn't play in the first couple of weeks. And then in weeks 3 and 4, he only played 52 snaps. So then now you look at the last couple of games where they've played together. I mean, Gadsden has been far superior when you're looking at the number of targets. He's averaged 7 targets and 6 catches, over 120 yards, and scored 3 touchdowns, 24 points a game in the last 2. That's Gadsden. Johnston is playing right around the same snaps, running similar numbers of routes in those 2 games, but his numbers have gone into the tank, and he didn't score a point last week. And so I think now it's one of those things where you talk about coaches are smart. Holy crap, Ronnie Gadsden's pretty good, and he's healthy now, and the Chargers want to utilize him. And we've talked about it. Greg Roman loves a good tight end. Vernon Davis, Mark Andrews, Marcus had mentioned Delaney Walker, who had a good year under Greg Roman. So, Greg Roman, the cheetah doesn't change his spots, right? So likes to run the ball, and he likes to utilize his tight ends. And I mean, listen, we all like Johnston. I mean, I remember Johnston, his ADP was shooting through the roof. He was going over people who were like, wow, remember Marcus, we were talking about, I can't believe he's gotten that high. I think in his case, it's because now the personnel is different. And they found a guy that mismatches and he's getting the job done. And so now Johnston's not going to be as consistent the rest of the year. With a guy like Travis Etienne, I got to be honest with you, I don't know what happened. Because over his first 4 games, he looked great. He was averaging 18 touches. He had a 36% touch share. He was getting red zone opportunities. He was averaging almost 17 points per game. And then look at his numbers over the last, 3 games? 13 touches a game. He hadn't scored a touchdown. His touch share is down to 30%, and he's averaging 8 points. It's weird, right? So could some of it be game script? They got slaughtered by the Rams. I mean, they had to, not run the ball because they were getting their butts handed to them. Yeah, that's part of it. It's not like Bashal Tutin has come in and been this big hindrance on Etienne's touches. That has not been the case. Mm-hmm. And then,
and they got rid of Bigsby. Bigsby got out of the way.
Yeah, I know. And now Bigsby in Philadelphia, who has 100 yards rushing. There's just, it could be more about game script and situation. And then with Caleb, I just think Caleb Williams this is him. And it stinks because over the first 3 games, he was completing 63% of his passes, which is, it's okay. But he had 8 total touchdowns and he was averaging 23 points. You guys know how many touchdowns he has scored either as a passer or a runner in his last 3 games?
I think it's 1, isn't it?
Last 4. It's 3 total touchdowns. That's it.
Yeah, wow. It's not very many.
3. Yep. And he's completed 61% of his passes. So it's ballpark. His passing yards.
They just run so much. It's just a Ben Johnson offense where you get inside the 5 and they're just run the ball.
Yeah. I just wonder if this is just going to be Caleb. We got excited early in the season. We all thought, well, he's got top 12 potential. He was 15 last year in points. That's not a big uptick. Maybe this is just Caleb. And the way that you deal with these guys is, it's a week-to-week basis. Like I've told people to start Caleb Williams the last 2 weeks and he stunk, but the matchups were really good. And guess what? He's got a really good matchup this week too. Etienne, I don't know how you bench him because what else do you got?
So, Matt, maybe this is the scout in me a little bit, as I almost always default to my pre-draft evaluation of some of these players. And we talked about Quentin Johnston a couple weeks ago when the new ADP came out. and he was being drafted as wide receiver 24. And I think you and I both thought, ooh, that feels a little rich. Now he was producing better than that, but and again, this might be a fault of mine, but like, if I don't really believe in the player, you kind of have to show me for like multiple years in a row before I believe it. And that's hurt me in a lot of different situations. But I think more often than not, if you trust your gut on these guys, you'll eventually be proven right.
Yeah, and I don't even think it's trusting your gut. I think it's trusting your talent evaluation. And I've said on this show many times that when in doubt, I will always side with the more talented player in my eyes. And that's treated me really well in Dynasty over the years because you have bigger rosters. You can wait. Give me the guy that's ridiculously fast or has ridiculous body control. Two things I think would be remiss if we didn't mention, though, too, is if you've never been in an NFL facility, you might not understand what injured players are. I mean, someone, let's say a running back in week 6 was questionable with a hamstring or a thigh bruise or whatever, and he plays, and then he's not on the injury report the next week in week 7. I'll bet everything I own his thigh bruise or hamstring is still killing him.
Yeah.
And if you walk through the medical area of a NFL facility, you're like, that dude's not even on the injury report, and he's got a bruise that's the size of my head, or anything. I mean, or one's feeling good.
Matt, I remember walking into a facility on a Tuesday, and a player was getting treatment, and I'm like, there's no way this guy's going to play anytime soon.
Yeah.
And of course, he's ready to go by Sunday. Like, these guys, they've got their bodies tuned where they can play injured and they can play hurt, but that doesn't mean they're playing at 100% either. So I
Right.
totally get what you're saying.
And I want to take one step further, too, because every NFL coach is petrified of offensive line injuries. There are so many. There's such a shortage of O-linemen in the league right now. And I'm not a big bettor, but I've got this theory that if you bet against every team that's without their starting center, you make money. And I basically have for 10 years because they're so important. And fantasy folks don't look at that. They'll just be like, Aaron Jones he's questionable. Is he going to play or not? Well, he doesn't have a center, a left guard, and a right tackle, but no one looks at that stuff.
All right, let's talk about the best app to play fantasy and dynasty football on, because I think all three of us might have different answers. We're going to get to that next.
I'm Cody Rourke from Locked On Broncos, and this episode is brought to you by Peloton. Peloton is shaping the future of fitness with the brand new Peloton Cross-Training Tread Plus, powered by Peloton IQ. This is Peloton's most advanced equipment yet, giving you real-time guidance and endless ways to move, whether you're running, lifting, or you're cross-training with your favorite instructors like Alex Toussaint. It's training reimagined to make your workout more personal. Peloton is built for breakthroughs with features that help you plan, stay motivated, and hit peak performance. You can let yourself run, lift, flex, and go while Peloton handles all the rest. Plus, Peloton IQ provides real-time strength coaching, tracking your progress and suggesting weights that challenge you so you can get stronger. Plus, the new movement tracking camera, it counts your reps and corrects your form in real time, making sure every rep is safer and smarter. So let yourself run, lift, flex, push, and go. Explore the new Peloton Cross-Training Tread Plus at onepeloton.com.
Welcome back to the Locked On Dynasty Football Podcast. We'd like to thank you for making us your first listen every single day. For your second listen, check out the Locked On NFL Podcast. 2 shows every single day. 1 in the morning with Tyler Rowland, 1 in the afternoon with Tony Wiggins, available wherever you get your podcasts. All right, Matt, let's talk about what is the best app to play Dynasty football on, because I think there are a lot of them out there now, where maybe 10, 15, 20 years ago when you and I started playing Dynasty, there weren't a lot of options. But what is your favorite setup now?
See, I'm not a great person to ask because every one of the Dynasty leagues I've ever been in is on myfantasyleague.com. And I've been very happy with them. I will never be a fantasy commissioner. I just don't have time. I don't ever deal with those things. So
it's
I'm
not
just
fun,
a
I'll
user.
tell you that much.
I can tell, and
It's
I'm
not.
just too busy and you guys are too, but you guys are gluttons if you're commissioners to me. I'll join leagues. I will never run them. I've never been behind the scenes or dealing with people that aren't happy about it. But myfantasyleague.com has been really good to me. I mean, that's where all my leagues are, not by choice. It's just where I got invited and I took them, and they all happen to be on the same site.
What about for you, Fabs?
So I don't want to crap on any sites.
Yeah, we're not going to do that. We're going to be positive here.
I like Sleeper, and Sleeper is kind of the new kid on the block. Although now they're right up there, with the the ESPNs and the Yahoos of the world in terms of the numbers. And so most of the leagues that I'm playing in, and actually all the leagues I'm playing right now, are on Sleeper. I like the fact that the information within each league is dedicated to dynasty leagues. There's other platforms out there where it's a mix. So, for example, if I want to see how many leagues, Eric Eilmanner is owned in or started in, some sites, it's just all clumped in dynasty and redraft, and it's not really a good indicator of actually how many leagues. But on Sleeper, it's all dynasty. So once you hit dynasty, when you're setting things up, you're only getting dynasty information, starting percentages, ownership percentages, all that kind of stuff. And not only is that good for me as a commissioner, as someone who does a lot of studying too, in terms of the stats, but it's good for content as well. And so I kind of look at it from both sides. What apps give me the easiest and best user-friendly experience? Plus, where can I go and easily get numbers that I could use for content purposes? And so Sleeper's been that for me. I got to be honest with you. I mean, almost all of my leagues now are on Sleeper. I don't run one league that's not on Sleeper anymore. And I've played on all of them, and I've had good experiences with some. I've had bad experiences with some, but I'm sort of OCD, and I don't want to have to go to a million different sites. So I've moved just about everything to Sleeper, and this way everything's kind of right there for me. So that's probably the one that I would recommend people go to. And that is, again, the fastest growing fantasy sports app, and they're doing all kinds of other stuff as well, on the wagering side, like in the business right now.
So I prefer ESPN just because I love the way the interface is set up for like adding and dropping and trading players, and how it looks when you're, on a game day and you're checking the scores. Like, I just like how theirs looks. Now, unlike my fantasy league and Sleeper, they don't have the ability to like trade first round picks. So a lot of my leagues are set up where we have like a Google spreadsheet or a Google Doc that tracks it all. And that can be a little bit of a hassle.
That's where ESPN loses. That's where those sites lose.
Yeah, that's rough.
It is rough, but I do love how easy and how clean it is for game day. So if you all my leagues for the most part are on ESPN, outside of a couple on Sleeper, my fantasy league. So I've kind of grown up on ESPN. I think it all just depends on your personal preference, on what you value, and honestly, what you're used to using. I don't think there's one that's significantly worse than another. But again,
yes,
we all have our preferences.
Yeah, there are.
Well, outside of the ones that we've mentioned, yes.
Okay, I'm not, like I said, I'm not mentioning anybody, but yeah.
I mean, the ones that we've mentioned
I would never play.
Yes.
Like, no, I'll go back to pen and paper in a USA Today. I'm not playing on their app.
Yes, I know which ones you're talking about, and I don't disagree. But so I want to hear from our listeners. What's your favorite way to play Dynasty? Which app is your favorite? Which ones do you see improving? Let us know. I think that would be a fun topic to get back into. All right, that is it for today's show. We'd like to thank you for making Locked On Dynasty Football your first listen every single day. Go check out the podcast wherever you get your podcasts. We are free and available on all platforms. Follow Matt on Twitter at Williamson NFL. You can follow Fabs at Michael_Fabiano. I'm at Marcus_Mosher, and we will see you right back here tomorrow.